Back to our show.
Comic books and comic art is a really strong and is very close to the pulse of the culture.
He almost tasted that. Num 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 num, eat it up. Go play okay, 3, 2, 1. You know I'm the hottest, you ain't never.
What is Pops doing?
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
All right, folks, comic book talk. We're going to have a good time. We're going to have some fun. We're going to, I don't know, just talk about some comic and nerd stuff. And with me again, Angry Canadian, all the way from Japan. How are you, my brother?
Hey, Pops, thanks for letting me come back and talk some comics with you. I'm doing very good.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Let's talk about something. I know you have really. We've chatted privately about some different things to read and enjoy, things like that. I saw that you had been on with Gray. We'll put a link there. I'm going to make a note of that right now before I forget to make sure that I have that link for your talk with Gray about Gunslinger Spawn. So did you catch all the way up on Gunslinger Spawn or just more of some of the recent issues? Or where are you at on Gunslinger? Are you totally caught up?
Yeah, I'm totally caught up. That video was the issue 22 that came
Mhm.
out recently, so that's the one we reviewed and yeah, caught up on it, and it's been a blast reading Gunslinger Spawn.
Yeah, this was one of the books that I truly look forward to. I have to be honest. I'm sort of blown away at how good it is. I with comics the way they are right now, I just haven't been able to kind of enjoy things as much. And Gunslinger's been there for me, and I don't have a complaint in the world. You guys did a much better job than I'm going to be able to pull up right here. But if you guys take a look at this cover, the intricacies of even like the gun and the glove and the cape and things like this, it's beautiful, is it not? It's just incredible.
Yeah, the cover artist, like I said in Gray's video, really knocked it out of the park with the detailing here. He gave the gun like a weathered look to it, even with the a metallic look with the barrel as well. It's got like
Mhm.
a specific metallic touch to it. But besides the cover, like the rest of the comic itself, the issue with the details with Red Booth and his uh his enthusiasm for drawing dinosaurs is just what really attracts me to this comic. Well, at least yeah, and his drawing of Gunslinger Spawn is really cool too. So it's been really fun reading this somewhat new character to me and having amazing art to look at the same time.
Yeah, Gray sold me because he said, look, I know how you feel about modern stuff. I know how you feel about color palettes. I know how you feel about, no character arcs or nothing interesting. I said, he goes, you're going to love Gunslinger. And it was the one I read first in the new Spawn verse of stuff. And I have to be honest, Gunslinger is still probably my favorite character because he is still probably the most interesting character in the Spawn verse right now because he's always talked about as though he's the weakest, but all we do, don't we, is just we constantly see him just kicking butt and taking names.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, and I compare that to like how Al Simmons is handled because Al is, he's considered the superior Spawn and, he's the alpha Spawn and that kind of thing. But I don't know. Do you read the other Spawn titles too, or do you have, any affinity towards any of the others?
I think I'm behind on King Spawn because that's the other one that Gray is reviewing. But as
Mhm.
far as the main Spawn, I have not read any of the issues from that. I probably should read them because I at some point Gunslinger Spawn is going to converge with either King Spawn or the main Spawn because they hint at it in this issue and I think the last issue as well.
Mhm.
So I probably should start reading some of the other spawns to make sure I'm ready for that.
Yes, I don't really read the main Spawn title, but I have read King Spawn. So I know McFarlane has described it as writing like Batman and detective comics. Like they're both Batman, but they're kind of different. But I do read King Spawn. Then I read Scorch, which is like the team book where they all kind of team up. So there is some gunslinger action in there. And what I don't like about the main Spawn, Al Simmons, is that he still is sort of like the same character. Like he's still got the same flaws and the same problems of being like an irrational military guy.
Hmm.
Whereas with Javier, I feel like he's he's just the pure person that he is, and it's like I will just find a way to win. I will, you know what I mean? It's like no matter where he's at, you feel like he should always, he has been, well, they don't really die, guys, but he's been killed, he's been dismembered. I mean, they've done all sorts of crazy things, but he still overcomes. And in this, he's going up against the Clown. Are you real familiar with the Clown outside of Gunslinger Spawn books?
Not really. I know Gray explained a little bit to me, but
Mm.
not a whole lot actually.
Yeah, he and the Violator are sort of like the embodiment of like this super demon that kind of like trains the Hellspawns. Like he kind of like early on, that's kind of how he's tied as the antagonist against Spawn, because Spawn has rebelled against his responsibility as a Hellspawn, and he's sort of kind of like trying to make good with this curse that he has, basically. So the Clown is extremely powerful and really can't be killed. And then the fact that now with the newer Spawn stuff, they've kind of created so much, like, I want to say lore, but for the lack of a better term, mythology around him. Because this issue features Dakota, and
Yes.
Dakota cameos very briefly early on in the series, and then here she returns because we find out the Clown is the father, and you have this this incredible ability for her to control dinosaurs and stuff. And it's just incredible. So we end up with like T-Rex versus the Violator.
Yes,
Uh,
amazing.
just think, this army of little clown minions attacking. Javier, Dakota, and the Clown himself being caught in the middle of all of this. The blood splatter and stuff. Look at the detail. I mean, I know you love this kind of stuff too, because we talked about it last time, just what Brett Booth does with these panels. So the blood splatter details is more intricate than most like DC comic superhero books.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. That's look at just the attention to detail to try to convey blood splatter has more detail than some panels of main characters' faces in a mainstream book. And that's I really do bag on some of those books. And then, of course, I'm not sure I really care for Dakota's design all the time. She's played as like super hot, but not exactly hot. Like it's sort of like they don't quite go too far with it. I don't know. What do you think about Dakota and her design?
It's really interesting, I would say. Like I think you put it best with the they don't try to make her too sexy, I guess, but they give her like this interesting like giant hat, and she wears a mask as well, which I don't know what the deal is with her hiding her identity, I guess. Um and then the rest of, yeah, their color palette is just it's not as colorful as I guess Spawn is, his
Mhm.
with him popping out, but it doesn't throw me off while I'm reading it. It kind of works well because it's like this woman can randomly like conjure up dinosaurs, and so she's gonna wear this interesting outfit. Then I mean, it is what it is. It does it is it looks like it's a timepiece, right? Like it fits with the Wild West style as far as the hat goes, not the rest of the body, but the hat, like the big hats with the little tassels all around it. To me, it looks like it fits with the Wild West theme. Um,
Yeah, I think so. And the corset, she has like a corset for her top. I mean, it
yes,
looks
that's
like it's
true.
supposed to be
Yes.
modern, but it is like a corset, So, but she's never drawn or allowed to be like overtly sexy in the sense of like when you read Scorched or something, where you'll see Jessica Priest as She Spawn. I mean, there literally is like a naked scene. They don't show it, but they play up the nakedness for Javier. Right? There's an issue where like what are you looking at? Like I got your attention, so you're gonna get yourself killed because you're looking at the wrong thing. Kind of joke. We don't ever really get that with Dakota. So, but I want to get to this panel. Look at the craziness they do with the little clown minions. I mean,
Yeah, they're just creepy and disgusting looking.
yeah, I don't even know what to say. Oh man. I don't even know who would direct a live action version of any of this kind of stuff, but man, it just makes me thirst for more of it. I don't even know what would be the best medium, if it needs to be an animated project or what, but it's just so good. This is just so much fun watching all of this. Yeah, I know you love dinosaurs, so I can just let you revel in the dinosaur art for a minute.
Yeah, it's just It's amazing for starters. Like they announced at the beginning, this is a T-Rex, right? So we've seen Jurassic Park. We know the information how big a T-Rex is, and so you see how big the T-Rex is, and then you're like, wow, Violator is huge. So like you can almost make a mental image of like Violator, about the same. He's much wider than a T-Rex, but like he's still about the same height. And you're
Mhm.
just like, that is kind of terrifying to think about. Like this giant creature that Spawn is going to go toe to toe with in the next couple panels.
Yeah, and headstrong into battle. Like this is such a great panel to see what Brett Booth does here with the movement and the action and stuff like that. It's just all perfectly done. Just a lot of fun.
Yes.
What do you think about McFarlane and his storytelling?
So I told Gray that I was at first when I started reading Gunslinger, I was kind of surprised that he does a lot of like the storytelling through these like yellow brown dialogue boxes,
Mhm.
because normally like the characters talk and that's where you get your story from. At least what I've read before, but I actually kind of like it. It's almost like kind of reading a novel, but it's with photos, and it flows for me. It flows pretty well, and I don't feel like I'm getting confused or lost. So I like it. I think it works well in this version, in this form of storytelling.
Yeah, it's okay. So I'll say this: he's very much into writing a very simple action comic book story that you can just jump into. I don't know that he gives enough sort of like recap or anything like that in the beginning. If you're just grabbing the comic from the get go, like maybe he should, but I don't think any issues throw you way off balance with like power sets or I don't understand what's going on too much. You could jump in and have a good time enjoying the journey. Um, Maybe they could do a little better with the recaps and stuff like that, but he's very consistent with his like you said the approach like this is our narration boxes and then the the way they do speech bubbles and stuff like that. It's all very clear. It's not like sometimes you get things and it's like, oh, this person's going to have this colored box and this person's going to have that colored box, and it can be a lot to keep track of if you don't even know who some of the characters are.
Yeah, that was my biggest complaint with Craven the Last Stand, or Last Son, sorry, the Last Son. And just there's all kinds of text boxes in like a single panel, and they're different colors. And um, I knew who was speaking because like they established which color boxes for which character. But at some point, it just gets like overcrowded, and you're like, you can't even see the images, or like it's too much reading. I want to read something simple, and I think Todd McFarlane does a great job of like giving enough context, enough detail per panel with the text for me to be able to keep reading and enjoy the story.
And I will say that I don't even know that this is like Brett Booth's best work. It's just this good all the time. Like I think there are issues that are even better than this one. But it's just tremendous. It's so superior to most other comic books right now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. Um, so are you like a must read on Gunslinger now?
Oh yeah. I'm gonna be, if I had the chance, I would buy probably the issue every month, like the
Hmm.
physical. I
Hmm.
I want to own this, but I'll probably wait for the trade paperbacks like to catch up or whatever, and then try to order the trade paperbacks and ship them overseas because I want to own this. This is amazing.
Gotcha. Yeah, I kind of feel the same too. Where I'm going to be tracking down some of those at a reasonable price, if you will, because that is part of the challenge right now too. With the stuff that actually is good is not particularly staying economical. But I was at a Comic Con, as you know, and I was looking for a copy of Last Ronin. It's a Ninja Turtle story that I enjoyed very much, and wasn't able to find it at a reasonable price. I'm like, it was pretty much the same price as online. So I'm like, well, that's not exactly helping me out one bit. And over there, it's terrible because of shipping, right? You have accessibility issues and then shipping. So
Yes.
yeah, it's that stinks. If the Gunslinger is even in hardback, I guess there are some hardbacks. I don't know for sure if those are reprints from the Spawn, because he was actually introduced in Spawn. It's it's been a while ago. I've never read them, the 300s or so. But yeah, yeah. Very cool. Very cool. So, one of the other things you told me you're reading, which I think, I don't know, did I recommend this or did Gray? Ghost Rider 1990?
That was you. You recommended Ghost Rider.
Yeah. Fun, huh?
Oh yeah, this is for an older comic. It's a pretty easy read, or like it's I can understand it, and it doesn't bore me, or I don't lose like focus while I'm reading it. So it's really fun. I like it.
Yeah, Ghost Rider 90 is I really hadn't read Ghost Rider for this when I got this, because I got this when it first came out. And I was like, well, I don't really know much about Ghost Rider, but the art was super cool. Everybody's talking about it. So let's give it a go. Let's give it a shot. And I was hooked. I read Ghost Rider 1990 for years. So let me see. It's tricky trying to balance the app, what will fit on screen. Mark Tejera's art and the story is very simplistic. Like if you could start at issue number 1, that's great. I think that there's some good recaps to kind of keep you going, but as you can see with the art in the 90s, it was just intricately detailed. Look at the facial structure
Yeah,
right here. It's like, this is crazy how incredibly detailed everything was.
yeah. This version of Ghost Rider kind of surprised me because it's just a kid that like inherits the power
Yep.
from the motorcycle. And what's just interesting is like at least my image of Ghost Rider is somebody that just goes around and kills a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But in this version, he only goes after people that like is treated or like harmed. And he's a stickler about it, so he doesn't like go overboard. And it's really interesting to see that, and like to see the kid as well, like battling with himself, like why do I keep dipping into the power of this guy, like should I keep doing this? And then it starts off, I think, with his sister getting injured as well, so she's like in a coma. And
Yep.
yeah, but besides that, like the art itself too is just for an older comic is really beautiful, very detailed. I like the facial expressions too. Like you said, it's better than like most of the modern artists with their facial expressions. Like there's way more detailed in this older comic.
And he wastes no time introducing us to like a universe. Like we end up down, because Howard Mackey's doing the writing, and
Okay.
Javier Satares does the art, some of the writing as well, doing some pencil work. Mark Teixeira is doing inks, things like that. So it's a great team over there putting stuff together, trying to introduce different villains and sort of antagonists for Ghost Rider. By the way, this one has retro ads in it. I don't know if the copy that you read did. That takes
Yes,
me
it
back
was
to,
funny to read the retro ads in between the panels.
wow. We'll come back to that in a minute. Um, but this made Ghost Rider kind of a household name. So during this time frame, the X-Men. This predates the X-Men animated series, but the X-Men comic book comes out in '91. Obviously, McFarlane's a big deal. His work on Spider-Man's a big deal. This Ghost Rider starts taking off. Some of the work over on Hulk is taking off. Of course, anything with Wolverine's popular. And then you end up with like this massive run for Ghost Rider where he's sort of like a crossover character. He ends up showing up with other stuff. And like you said, it's like Ghost Rider kind of gets a weird rap because everybody thinks of him almost like just kind of an anti-hero and he's just randomly doing things when in fact he's, quote, the spirit of vengeance, right? He's trying to make right the scales of justice, bringing vengeance to those who didn't get it.
Yes.
And that's not always easy to get your head around. But I think what you're right, because this is the Dan Ketch Ghost Rider, not Johnny Blaze, is Dan's kind of caught in a mess where like he doesn't really want this curse and he doesn't really know exactly how to balance his real life. So it's a little bit of the same motif you see with like Spider-Man. Like, how do you balance the real life superhero stuff with, having a girlfriend or whatever? What drew you to that they got right? Or how you touched on it a little bit, but I'd like you to expand on it a little bit about that.
Well, it's just that inner conflict, right? So he was he got caught up in a mess. People got killed, and his sister got put in a coma. And then he called on this bike, or he found this bike, and the bike gave him this power. And then after like the first couple times of him using it, he's just like he doesn't like because he retains the memories of the Ghost Rider like while he's in that form. and so he sees all the stuff going on, and then he sees the negative press that's towards him as well. And it's just interesting because it's a kid, so it's like you said, it's Spider-Man level of just Spider-Man dealing with his personal life, and so this guy he's in the same boat, just a kid trying to balance this out, and I just think it speaks to me a lot easier than other comics would with I don't know. The reading with this is really easy. I like the reading. It's very simple, even though there is a lot of text. It's just it flows really well, and um, man, I'm trying to think what else I would say about this. Just oh, actually, the one thing I want to mention, what you were saying about the world building. I like how there's all these villains. They're all like these gangs, and then there's like stronger guys at the top of the ladder, and it's this comic feels very grounded, because like when you get into some of the bigger comics, like they become like super powerful enemies, or like even like universal type enemies, whereas this is just like in the streets of New York, and there's all this like chaos in the streets of New York, and you have Ghost Rider going around trying to clean it up. So I like how grounded this comic feels.
Yeah, you can see Death Watch. This is issue number 3, and then of course Blackout is actually on the far right, and he's kind of like a demon that's kind of pulling the strings. And then of course we also have a Kingpin appearance in this issue. And I paused briefly, but I want to go back to this page because this is like the typical superhero trope of zooming in. Right, so and so's going to die. So and so's no, it zooms in, no, and it's like, oh, I have to do something. And then of course the bike's calling to him to basically go through the transformation, and then he's going to have to become Ghost Rider and go into action, and it's just really fascinating seeing how immersive all of this can get. Like it's one of those things where in hindsight I'm still blown away at how good Ghost Rider can be. It's a very simple concept. It's basically like the similar thing that we used to with Punisher. How can Punisher be so good? It's like, well, he's just a dude doing this. Like, okay, but they good writers find ways to make interesting stories. I will say I didn't never think about Kingpin being in this. I always forget to mention that. It's really good that like you said, it's like it grounds you in New York. It's really good.
Yeah, because it reminded me of watching the Netflix series of like Daredevil, whereas he's doing all this in New York and within like a certain neighborhood, and it's very self-contained. It doesn't like overreach or get out of like a box, so you can enjoy this like pretty self-contained world. And then there's all these characters that are introduced, and I think the author does a really good job introducing them to where it's not overwhelming. You're like, oh, there's this guy, this guy, this guy. He kind of hints like there's this one character that I didn't know, and you're like, well, what does he do? What's his powers? And he kind of gives a brief example what he does, and then later on he kind of does it again, so it kind of reinforces like who this villain is and what he can do. And he does it with several different villains, so it's not like super overwhelming, and very simple storytelling on their part. But yeah, it's pretty. I like it a lot. And speaking of Punisher, if you go to issue 5, that's when Punisher and Ghost Rider get into a tussle, and specifically issues 5 and 6. And I think those are probably my favorite issues so far with him and the Punisher.
Jim Lee does that cover, by the way. For those of you at home who like Jim Lee art, that's a Jim Lee cover. So that's why this looks a little bit different style. Look at that. It's just incredible. You feel the movement in that. It's just, yeah. And again, this adds to this New York City. Like, it's like, man, I tell you what, if New York City was real in the Marvel universe, man, it'd be a hellscape.
Yes.
There'd be gangs and superheroes everywhere with craziness, man. It'd be nuts.
That's what makes me laugh thinking about it, is just reading this comic. It's like, where's like all of the superheroes at in this world, like cleaning up New York? Because how is like New York this bad that you got Ghost Rider going around having to clean up town? It's that's why I like it. It's really cool. It's really funny.
Look at Punisher, man. That dude is such a Chad.
Yes.
He is the uber freaking Chad. Punisher is just, yeah. In part 2, it doesn't stop. So now this is a Teixeira. So Teixeira starts taking over, I believe, around this issue. Nope, not yet. He's still not the full. He's still doing inks. It'll say inker or finisher right here. But yeah, I love to see. I love to hear from you, AC, as you kind of read on what your thoughts are, because it is. It's really one of those books that I read literally religiously for several years. Never had a problem enjoying it. Just as it just always kept delivering. So, um, yeah, let's go back to these games too, though. This is a X-Men Uncanny video game,
Yes.
taking us back to some Nintendo love. Right
I
there,
I
Bionic
like
Commando.
yeah, I like the ads here. It really it's like a time machine, right? You go back in time, you get to see some of the ads and the marketing for these old products. It's pretty cool. I like seeing this.
Here's a D&D.
Oh wow.
Yeah, little D&D ad there. Here's an off the road game. And then Chicago Comic Con right here in Rosemont, Illinois in July. Here's Comic Collector, so SoCal Comic Con. So yeah, let's go to the next issue. Oh, football cards. There we go. 1990 football set. Oh, there we go. And then let's see here. Well, we got the Wrath of the Black Manta. Do not know what this is. It's a game. Okay, so some sort of adventure game. Okay, with ninjas. Here we go. A price guide. That's right up my alley. So
Nice.
back in the day, because a lot of shops, not a lot of areas didn't have shops, so you'd have to order. You could order. So here's your regular price, here's your sale price. You could get Ghost Rider 5 and 6 with the Punisher appearance. So they're right there. Let's see if there's anything old. It's always fascinating to see what things were worth. Sometimes there's not things that are very old. Don't think so in this book. This doesn't look like there's anything particularly. Like sometimes there are back issues, and sometimes there's not. It depends on what we're looking at. But no, I don't see anything here. This is a lot of just generic merch type stuff. Says older model kits, a $30 model kit, things like that. So yeah, very cool, huh?
Yes. I enjoy this.
Time capsule stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I look forward to reading it, hopefully finishing it out, and seeing what other characters get thrown into this, and seeing his evolution too.
Yeah. Very good. Very good indeed. Yeah, I am I will not lie. I have let's see, what do we have behind us? Let's see here. I have a graded 28. I know I have a graded 26 and 27. The X-Men show up. There's a crossover with the X-Men. So I have some of those. There's a glow-in-the-dark cover. I love me some gimmicks.
Oh wow.
Ghost Rider 25 is a black glow-in-the-dark cover. Oh, yeah.
How did they do that? That's interesting.
Beautiful. It's this crazy dark, and they're hard to find in good condition because it's mostly black. So that's another reason why some of the Ghost Rider books, especially number one, it's a higher priced book probably for what it is because it's mostly black. It anytime that you crease them, the white will come through. So they call that a color break. When the color breaks, you can see the white. So if it's black like that, they're harder to find mint, so to speak.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah, if that makes sense. Yeah, the color breaks. So I was showing comic book that by the time people see this will be gone because I would have given it away. But I was showing this earlier. This is a Incredible Hulk book. So I'll show you guys really close so you guys can get a good feel for it. So you can see right here on the spine, you can see there's no white creases, right? But there are tiny little tick marks. And so if you feel it, there's like bumps. Little stress marks. It's hard to see. You can definitely feel them. So they're little tiny. So if I hold the glare, that's not always the bag. There's actually like a little bump right there. But that can be cleaned and pressed out and fixed. But if that had broken the color and you would see the white showing, you can't really undo that. So that's the difference. That's the difference in the grading process. So yeah, if you end up with like two of those white showing, there's no way to be above like a 9.4, even if everything else is perfect. Because I have a Wolverine book that was like that. It's perfect. There's two little tick marks, so it's like a 9.4, I think.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, it is what it is. Some of these books have been around for 30 years, so yeah. Yeah, no, I'm glad that you found something that you enjoyed. I'm glad that Gray and I both been able to, help a new reader find something that they enjoy. Because I think that's kind of the fun of it all, is to share why we like it. I think Gray's about my same age, so he probably also appreciates that 1990s style, that late 80s, 90s style of, fast and adventure and things like that. And that's what you told me you liked, right?
Yes, yes, and it's perfect. This is perfect so far.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, Ghost Rider. There's going to be issues off. I mean, I guess to be honest, I mean, you end up with 30. I mean, there's going to be issues where it just kind of dips a little bit. And I will say it'll start to cross over some. So hopefully it'll kind of tell you where to go. But if not, let me know.
Okay, we'll do.
Because Ghost Rider become like a crossover thing. And definitely by the time you're down that rabbit hole with that one, it'll say like Midnight Suns part whatever of 6. They're not in Ghost Rider. They started their own titles. So it'll be like it crosses over with Blade and Midnight Suns and Morbius, and they kind of created their own little sub universe crossover type thing of those type of I'll say spiritual characters in the MC, well, not the MCU, the Marvel comic universe, the 616.
That's interesting.
Yeah, they do a really good job, though, I think, of keeping Ghost Rider pretty consistent. Like I don't think they really lost the script on Dan Ketch. I will say that the Nick Cage movies and things like that, I just felt like they didn't really quite know what they wanted to do. Maybe that's the best way to explain it. Like, I don't even hate the first movie. I just wish I could just tweak a few things. Yeah, it's like one of those things where it's just like it ends up being sort of a meh movie. But I'm like, gosh, if we could have just cut this out, we don't need that. If we could have just done this and this and this could have been just, it was just, it was like right there. It
Yes,
was like
yes,
fruit
yes.
on the tree. It was like right there to be a really good movie. The second one, though, it's a much bigger mess. They were too much into their experimentation of things they wanted to try to do, but it wasn't about the character. It was about doing stuff, not about the character. It's like listening to Michael Bay talk about blowing things up. I'm like, that's not story though. So, that can only get you so far.
What did you think about Ghost Rider in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show?
I really didn't get into any of the Ghost Rider stuff because that's a different version of Ghost Rider, and I really had a hard time with him not having a motorcycle.
Okay, that makes sense.
I mean, it's a purist thing. I get it. I didn't really hate the character. I didn't really, I was like, it's okay. The Robbie Reyes thing is fine. It's just, no, man, he's cool because of motorcycle. A lot of people have the cars. Anyone could get a Dodge Charger. Anyone could, know what I mean? But the motorcycle wasn't just a motorcycle. It's this crazy kick butt covered in skulls and the chain thing. And the fact that he'd be on a building with this chain flying around. With the car, I just felt like all of that was lost, if that makes sense.
Yes, I understand that.
Yeah. The premise of the vengeance and stuff, I think, is fine. And the show was trying to explore some of that, which I gave them credit for. Maybe it's one of those things where maybe that's what I'll do when the cartoons get to a stopping point, so that I could do an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode by episode. I did really enjoy a lot of it. I thought it was actually a fine show for what it was. I wish there was more of like what you and I are talking about. I wish it was more of like the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. having to deal with the chaos of the city and all these superheroes and gangs and stuff like that, and these supernatural like breadcrumbs that they constantly had to deal with and contain, like the book. You know what I mean? Like the Darkhold book. Like Ghost Rider got into a fight with Blackout, but by the way, Ghost Rider didn't take Darkhold with him. So now freaking Darkhold is in the open. We got to go get this book before somebody gets their hands on it. You know what I mean? That would make a great show. It's like I would a show with these guys that are stuck dealing with there's chaos in the streets with these gangs and Death Watch and blah, blah, blah. And you can have different things that happen. But a lot of this stuff requires like a true fan. You have to have like the passion. You know what I mean? If it's not like the Lucas and you're building it from the ground up, it has to be something where you just really love it. And you're like, how could I immerse the audience in this? And I think it's what you and I've talked about. Where like, you're like, listen, tell me the really, give me some good foundational stuff to read. And it's like, okay, I want you to really enjoy it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to recommend stuff, or I don't want to give you something generic. I want you to
Right.
have fun, right? So yeah.
Yeah, because if you do that, you pretty much convert somebody into a lifetime fan, like someone that I will become that. Whereas you don't want to scare me away from comics if it's like a bad comic line that I read, whether it's the story or art or whatever. So, yeah, I understand that.
Yeah. And I try to be pretty honest with everybody, folks. I just try to let you know, listen, this is if you think Ghost Rider is going to be like literary, like a Kingdom Come was, that's not it. No, that's not it. Ghost Rider is about fun. Ghost Rider is about this vengeance character and this curse. He's trying. It's like it's the same type of superhero stuff. We see it with Spider-Man. We see it with other stuff. It's just like, but in contrast to, let's say, Daredevil. So like I've been rereading Daredevil, the '90s Daredevil, the Volume 2 one, and you literally will have like 5-10 issues where there's really not much action because it's a lot more of Matt Murdock and trying to deal with everything and what's going on and this street crime and the violence that's in the city. And, he'll change into Daredevil and do something for like 2 or 3 pages, but it's back to this other stuff. It's if you know that's what you're getting into, you're okay with it. But if I had sold you on that right out of the gate, you'd be like, "Pops, this is freaking boring as hell. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, what?
Yes.
I wanted to see some freaking tights and capes and some fights. Like, that's not." So it's like, I think there's some perspective because these books over time do go through like different seasons of that, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
I understand. Yep.
Yeah. We're not gonna see. It wouldn't surprise me, and I can't think of an issue off the top of my head, but it wouldn't surprise me, like, Ghost Rider issue whatever, and Ghost Rider's just not in it very much. It's more about Dan trying to clean up the writers are trying to clean up some loose ends of relationshipy type stuff before they get right back to another Ghost Rider adventure or something like that. You know what I mean? Because they really cared about that stuff. This is why we loved it, because we felt like holy crap, we're really in this little world. You know what I mean? There's a Kingpin and a Punisher and a Ghost Rider. Like, oh my gosh, this is crazy cool. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome, my friend. Awesome, my friend. So before we move on, is there anything else that you've kind of picked up or read or just kind of like, I've been thinking about this or that or anything like that before I throw you one of our Golden Age wild ones at you?
um, After I did the review with Gray, we were talking about it. I said, I wonder if like Brett Booth did any like dinosaur comics before, but I couldn't find any. But I was curious like if there was any Jurassic Park comics,
Mm-hmm.
and I did find some. They're like the movie tie-in type comics, and they were okay like to read through. But other than the one show you did with Old Man Logan,
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
was like the most recent one I read. That's it
Mm-hmm.
really. Ghost Rider, that one, and then Gunslinger. That's the latest.
Yeah, good. Okay. All right. That's good to know. That's good to know. So, yeah, we've talked a little bit about Old Man Logan. Old Man Logan's been good, a great experience. Even if the year ends tomorrow for me, I feel like we planted a flag and raised some awareness about that book. We exposed some people like yourself to it for the first time. We got people who've never read it, who haven't read it in years, to go back and realize that is really a hidden gem. And I think each time you read it, you pick up with like pieces, because we were really talking about, I don't know if we were together or if you were in the chat or whatever, we were talking about, we were revisiting the Daredevil Punisher type stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute, they'd be 70 years old. It's like, well, they're not really those guys. They're these new versions. They're masquerade. It's like, oh my gosh, let me read that. So it's
Yes.
like, there's so many layers that you get with these books that sometimes you don't even get the first time. So yeah, I love it. It's good. Well, then I won't subject you to this too much, but I will tell you, I briefly touched on this with a recent comic talk that I did with somebody. And I don't understand why I kind of have to keep going down this road. So I'm going to share some of my suffering with you, my friend. Sorry about that. This is the Hawk Girl book. It's Dawn of DC. And I want to just go to the fact that the art is just so inconsistent. Like you get pages like this, then we get pages like this, and then this.
Huh.
Yeah, and then wait for it. You're like, and then I get this,
Oh my goodness.
and I'm like, okay, hold.
What's the
So
corgi doing there?
yeah, look. So here's my brain. My brain is like, okay, let's just give them benefit of the doubt for a moment, and it just makes sense. Let's just pretend that it makes sense. But the art is so inconsistent from page to page that I can't enjoy the book. And look at the fact that there's no details in her hair. None, zero. Like I want to make this
Yes.
as big as I can. There are no details in her hair. It's just an outline. Now, compare that to what we talked about earlier in this show. We're talking about Gunslinger Spawn's gun has more detail than this character. That's crazy. She has no features, no leg features, no hair features. I mean, this is just random smoke outlines. This corgi looks like bad Photoshop. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, it looks like
Look at this.
it just looks like they did it 100% in computer software. I don't
100%. Oh yeah,
yep, and
it
just the way
definitely did. Yeah,
yeah, it's just I mean, look at this panel right here, the hair. There's no detail in the hair in this
nothing.
panel.
Look at this corgi cameo. I feel
Oh
like it's
my
a drinking
goodness.
game. Like, how many panels will they let me put my corgi in? Yeah, it's just crazy. But everything is so inconsistent. It's like I can't do it. I can't do it. So I'm venting. That was my vent. I'll get off my couch. I get off my couch. But it's my weekly venting. I use the example that I know I've used before. I'm sorry if you're catching me complaining about it yet again. But reality is, it's just an easy example of what I'm finding with other books. People go, "Did you read this?" I'm like, I can't even get through it, and that's why. It's like I turn the pages like another book. I haven't done a review on the Ambassadors. I know Grace talked about Ambassadors. It's a Mark Millar book. He wanted to do this project where he chose a different artist for each book.
Yes,
Can't
I
do it.
remember reading through that.
I couldn't. It's fine, but my brain can't be like, okay, I don't understand. Like I can't. It's so over the top. I really was having a hard time. It's still a decent story, but the art is almost like distracting for me for
Mm,
that regard. So yeah, it's part of my, I guess, the way I handle it as a medium, if that makes sense. So all right, let's go into the app. We're going deep. Let's find out what we can find. New and old. Let's see. I want to try to find something that we haven't seen before. Let's see here. Oklahoma Kid. We haven't done a Western, have we? I did Hoot Gibson, so that's a maybe. Oklahoma Kid. All right, that's one that's a maybe. Okay, Rex Dexter of Mars. That looks like it could be also one of the options. So we'll just see what we're gonna do. Yes. All right. So do you want cowboy and engines, or do you want space, like knockoff? Looks like knockoff Flash Gordon.
let's do space.
All right.
I already have beautiful cowboys from Brett Booth, so I don't want that tainted by something
All
someone
right.
else.
All right. Let me get this shrunk down. Everybody can get the full effect of Rex Dexter of Mars. Yes. Rex Dexter, 10 center. Here he is.
Oh wow.
Yes, Rex Dexter, number 1, 64 pages of full color. The free bottle of Cuba, the big drink inside. The weird adventures of Rex Dexter of Mars. Here's our Cuba with vitamin B and cola ad.
Ooh, tasty.
Let's see if we can get details here. 1940. 1940. Rex Dexter. I have never heard of Rex Dexter. For those of you who asked, I don't pick these because I know. I pick them because I don't know what they are. Here we go. Dick Briefer. I don't know how to say his name. Briefer sounds strange, so it's probably Briefer, but anyway. Rex Dexter. Out of space, from the planet Mars, comes Rex Dexter, meeting with mystery, excitement, and intrigue as an interplanetary adventurer. There you go. Go to the World Fair. It's a similar style that we had before, I think, with some of the facial features.
Yes, but this seems a little bit easier to look at than the last time.
Yeah, there's some word bubbles, but not like it's crazy. It's like this actually seems more like a streamlined story compared to the other one was just chaos. Because yours was Bug House and it was nuts. It was crazy.
Yeah, that was insane.
Yeah. Rocket ship, safe landings, explosions, different stories. Oh, wait, 2015. And in the year 2015, a child is born.
Oh wow.
Oh, there he is. It's a baby rattle, heavy fragments of meteorites, and a fruit shell. Okay. Yeah. Rex, help. Oh, that's love right there. Interesting. So it's sort of like a linear little space story. I don't know that I really have a whole lot to say. Well, there's definitely a lot of colors. Look at the different colors that they use. I mean,
I
they're
like that
trying to use
panel.
every single one they have.
Definitely reminds me of like old school Looney Tunes art,
Mm-hmm.
especially with the Marvin the Martian type
Okay.
of stories.
Okay.
I like that. It's kind of cool.
All right. Here's our second story. No word from Mars rocket. And then it says 1980, 90, 2000. So the futuristic. Wow. Ooh, that's a weird panel.
Yeah, and the one below it too.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening there. The message from Thorax. He's sending us his plan for obtaining slaves for us. Release our control over the planet Tarsus. Thorax will control it earthward. Earthward? Ooh, what?
Interesting.
Tarsus heads for the Americas. This kind of got away from him. I think he was okay earlier. This part
The
seems like
second
it's getting
story, yeah.
away from him again. I think he phoned it in a little bit. That's not making a lot. And everything seems like a lot less refined in this part, right? Like the first part seemed like it was all clean. Yeah, look how neat and clean everything where it looks. The
Yes.
lettering, the thought bubbles, the backgrounds, and then down here, it's like everything seems very second rate.
Is it a different person, different writer, artist?
It only has his name, Dick
Oh,
Briefer.
Dick Briefer. All right.
Yeah, there's no other names listed that I know of. Yeah, I thought the same thing. Let's see if Rex Dexter information comes up. We could elaborate, but Weird Adventures of Rex Dexter. Rex Dexter, 1940. Let's see. See, sometimes it's hard to find information and not just like buying a copy of a book.
Right.
Because this is stuff that doesn't survive, right? This is the stuff that didn't last for, decades. So people don't tend to be as interested, so they don't devote as much time on them. So
Yeah, we're fortunate that this survived. This on the internet.
yeah, someone scanned this in and uploaded it to the app. It's like, look at this. This is so badly done. Like the gun's blocking the guy's face. Like, don't fire a gun that close to your face, people. That's not good. Don't do that. It's very dangerous. Oh, we get a third story. This looks a little more buttoned up like the first one.
Yes. Yeah, it does.
Oh, look at the nice blocked styles of his narration. That's really good. It almost feels like the modern stuff, except that the colors keep changing for some reason.
Back in the day, did they have like a limited color range that they had to work with because of
Yes.
the printers?
Yes, very much so. Yes.
Okay.
George Tuska is also credited with doing some artwork, but it's not that doesn't tell me which ones, so I don't know. That's the only other credit that I found quickly looking. Oh, maybe here's why. Here we go. Oh, there's Billy Bounce, the Kid Detective by Lee Nelson. This is a lot of pages and a lot of comic books for your money. It's 10 cents. Let's see, 10 cents in 1940 worth today. Let's see. 10 cents. Will be $2.18.
Oh my goodness. And it's 64 pages, you said?
At least. I think it's what it said. We'll go back to the top in a minute. Yeah, we got like another story and then another story and pages and pages of, oh, I don't even know what's happening here. We got some
Oh
sort
my
of new
goodness.
guy's face. What's that? Good heavens, the inhabitants of the bald spot. What are they? What on earth? Hold on. Rex Sector of Mars, interplanetary adventurer, Dick Reefer. Out of the sky, from a far corner of the universe, a fiery meteor zooms down, grazing the surface of Earth in such a way as to shear mountains, forests, and cities from a large territory in Asia. Gone is all trace of natural growth, of life. As yet exists the tremendous expanse of not waste, but utter emptiness, a smooth surface on the earth. There you go. That's our intro. And then he says, arriving at the spot, the hideous, disgusting scene lies before their eyes. There's like
Yeah.
goo people. Wow. Oh, wow. He's like trapped in some sort of goo monster ooze or something. He's picking it up. Ugh.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness. Yeah. A little creepy.
there we go. Samson, 64 pages. Yeah. Here's our mailbag. Huh.
Yeah, I was gonna mention like that cover image of him. I wonder if he'll wear that costume later on in this comic. It just reminds me of the Fallout little mascot that's in the game. Because the game takes place in the around this same time period, so the art style is kind of similar for their advertising. It just
Mhm.
looks similar. Those who are watching will probably understand.
Right. Man, this is a lot of comic book.
For $2, yeah.
The Blue Beetle, coast to coast. Huh. Yeah. There's her ads everywhere.
Oh my goodness, that's a Photoshop. What is
Yeah,
going on there?
that's them. Someone photoshopped in this face, I guess. Rex Dexter. 64 pages of full color. That's a lot of comic, a lot of stuff. The foot's a little weird right there, but it's good stuff. Interesting. It's a time machine stuff, folks. I don't know what to tell you. Going through the old time capsule, looking at some cool stuff. I don't know. What are your thoughts when you look at these things that are 1940? I mean, that's like 80 years ago.
You can definitely tell the specific style of the 1940s. Like I
Mm,
said, I instantly recognized it because of a video game because they used that same style in a video game.
mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
it's not bad. I mean, this one wasn't as traumatizing as the last one we did. So
Yeah, if you haven't seen that one, yeah, I'll put the link in the description to Bug House because Bug House was weird. Holy cow, that was a strange book. Oh, yeah. Awesome. Um, AC, I've really enjoyed some of your gaming streams and things like that. What else do you enjoy doing?
Besides the gaming stuff, just sitting down and having a chat with some of other YouTubers out there, think similar interests that we would have. So I'm working on some live streams right now, and hopefully chat with some people, and still working on some video essays, I guess you call them.
Mhm.
And I'm also trying to do like a weekly gaming playthrough, like um, a, a slightly edited commentary of just like a video, like a 20-minute gameplay video. And every week there's a new thing. So just so I can get some more stuff in my library on my channel.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Well, I sure appreciate you taking time out to talk comic books with me. It's always fun.
Yeah, I appreciate you inviting me. This has been pretty fun this past several months reading these new comics. So I'm glad that there's people like you on the internet that can recommend or can curate stuff for new
I like
readers.
that. I may have to borrow that. If you need some curation, I may be your guy. Here's the thing. Especially if you don't have, really much experience at all, and you just kind of like, well, it's like, what characters do you like? What should I read? Whatever. Because it's just getting, again, this is that book we were just looking at was 80 years. What do you do when there's 80 years of content in the library? Where do you begin? That's kind of how I approach it and how I look at it and stuff like that, and try to gauge towards stuff. But yeah,
Why
no,
we need librarians like you.
there it is. I'm the comic book librarian. Pops is here for you guys. So yeah, hit me up, guys. Let me know what you want to get into or what you're enjoying. I'm definitely finding new things as well. I'll have the link there to the video that AC did over with Gray. Gray is another great resource. I couldn't recommend him enough. He's a fantastic guy, very knowledgeable, and reads a ton of stuff. So someone else that I think you can trust his opinion on some stuff. And AC keeps dabbling. So, next thing you know, he'll be doing a video and me talking about stuff. And yeah, man, it's just fun to kind of hang out and talk nerdy stuff. So I appreciate you doing it with me, man.
Yeah, it's a bless. I appreciate you inviting me.
Yeah. Right? And I'm not playing no games. Yeah.
Sit, Ubu, sit. Good dog.